Welcome to another interview in our FM Expert series. It's great to have Lucy Black with us to share her expertise. Hi, Lucy.
Hi.
Lucy is the Head of Facilities and Student Accommodation at the University of Plymouth. And Lucy, you're going to be sharing with us your tips on reviewing and implementing change. So I'm going to hand straight over to you.
Okay, that's great. Thanks, Beth. So I think the first thing I'd say you need to do is really understand what your current provision is and how it's working in the environment you're in. So what's working well and what's challenging, and whether that's around the quality of the services your team's providing, the cost of it, or it may just be that there have been changes that mean you need to do things in a different way.
Okay.
And that then helps you develop what your objectives are and really what it is you're trying to achieve through the change you want to implement. And you'll come back to that, and people will ask you that as you go through the process. I think from early on, you need to make sure you've involved the right people to work with you on this. I would say get your HR colleagues and your finance colleagues on board with you as early as possible. And it may be, if there's a technology element to this, colleagues from IT as well.
And Lucy, are we talking about an example of reviewing how, give us a context, give us an example of where we might be applying this.
Okay, so this might be if you're reviewing how your security team is structured and how they deliver security services around your buildings and your estate. Could be how your cleaners are working and what the services are they're providing. It could be a combination of that. So you could be looking to bring teams together to have multifunctional tasks that you want them to do. Okay. So really looking at that frontline delivery.
All right, fantastic. Thank you.
So having sort of identified which area you think you need to be looking at for whatever those reasons are, I'd say first off, start talking to other people about what they've done, how they're set up, how they deliver their services. That could be through an IWFM group, it could be a sector group, it could just be people you're linked up to in whatever way. In FM, people are really happy to share their thoughts and what they've done before, and somebody will have done it somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Just remember that how they've done it won't necessarily be right for your context, but just gather all of that information and have a think about it and get some ideas. At some point, you're going to need to start talking to teams of staff who are going to be affected by changes.
Yeah.
I would say whenever you start talking to a team of staff will be the wrong time. And just remember that. So for some people, you should have told them 3 weeks ago when you had the first inkling of an idea. For others, they don't want to know anything until you've got everything and all the details. So don't worry about the fact that you'll get a bit of grief back, but do start talking to people. One of my biggest tips would be, it's absolutely essential to be completely honest with your teams. They're adults, they deserve you to be honest. Don't promise that everything's going to be all right if it's not. Yeah. It's fine to say you haven't got the answers yet, and do also listen to their input. And cut through what may be a lot of sort of sound and fury about things, actually to what can be really useful information. And
do you believe the premise that you can't over communicate?
I do. Communication was going to be my last and final point. No, let's put it in all the way. Communication, absolutely, with the teams, with building users where it becomes appropriate, with clients, with customers, with trade unions, absolutely. You cannot over communicate. We know it's not possible. Whatever you do, some people will say you've not communicated. So do it, and in different formats and different ways, whether it's one-to-ones, in groups, in writing, in video, however it is. Yeah. Set yourself realistic but stretching timescales. So you don't want this to drag on forever with people. It's very disruptive. But equally, you need to allow enough time for consultation, whether it's formal or informal, and to get ideas. And if there are key points or meetings that you need to get proposals into for agreement, make sure you know when they are so you can plan those in.
Okay.
and think about those risks. Actually, our service is going to be affected. Is there going to be a dip? And if there's a dip, when's the best time of year to schedule in that dip? And really, it's hard, it's tough, but if you remain honest with people, they, even if they don't like what you're doing, they will generally respect the fact that you've got a role to play and it's not personal. Yeah. Even though for them it may well be, they may be ending up being made redundant as a result. Yeah. So yeah, and the final thing is just keep communicating it and keep referring back to what you were trying to achieve, and make sure you're sticking with that. And
what would you talked about realistic but stretching timescales. I mean, I know we could be talking about anything here, couldn't we? We could be applying this to anything, but is there any guidance or any suggestions you could give on timescales? What's a reasonable amount of time? I know it depends on everything, doesn't it? But
it does.
Anything you could sort of throw in there that might be useful?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to be looking at months, not weeks, if you're restructuring a team. And actually, something else I think to remember when you're communicating is that you've had this in the back of your mind and you've been mulling it over and thinking about it probably for weeks, if not months, before you tell somebody. And actually for them, this is the first time they've heard that you're even thinking about reviewing it. So you need to give people time and space actually to absorb it and think about it, and get to the same place you are. And this may be managers of that service, as well as whose jobs aren't threatened in any way, but who need to have time to catch up with where your thinking is.
Yeah, and we always see the change curve, don't we? That
yeah,
anger through to and that exactly will apply here. However people feel about it, we all process that same range of emotions to one degree or another. And from a management point of view, you've then got to support people through that, haven't you?
Yes. Oh, absolutely, because it has a massive impact on people.
Yeah.
And hopefully a lot of it is positive.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't mean it's negative. Exactly.
It doesn't mean it's negative, but it's still disruptive. Even if the outcome is positive for them, it's still a change and can cause anxiety for people.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Listen, we did that very briefly. We're at under 8 minutes, so hopefully we've still got our audience. So thank you, Lucy. Brilliant.
My pleasure.
Thank you for the time. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you.